Haribol, pranam to you all, and welcome back to the series of lectures Chanting as the Prayer of the Heart. This is the fourth and the final class of the series. My name is Haripriya Dasi, and I'm happy to share the following moments with you. All right, so I will start by reciting a few prayers as a blessing for our meeting today. You are welcome to join them. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Saksurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Vansakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Panavebhyo Vaisnavebhyo Namo Namaha Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sahodito Kododaye Puspavanto Citro Sando Tamonudo Vandeham Sri Ramakrishna Abhayat Saranastako Sukado Paramanando Sundaro Subalapriyom Harer Nama Eva Kevalam Kalau Nasti Eva Katiranyata Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Last time we spoke about the importance of initiation in relation to our chanting. So I will make a short recap from our last class, and then we can move forward to the theme of today, which is recommendations and encouragements for our chanting. We are chanting under the guidance and protection of our spiritual teachers. We are receiving the mantra from them, from our spiritual guide, and also some instructions for our chanting. So we spoke on our last class how initiation is a strong symbol for acceptance. We are welcomed to a spiritual family, and after that we are never really alone. There are so many friends and relatives, those who are living here at the present time, and those who are living in our memories and in our mind, kind of like a good friend or a soulmate from another time. And we learn from our teachers, who is God, who am I, what is this world where we are living in, what is the relationship between these three, and what is the meaning of life. And all this sacred knowledge, these theological teachings are protecting our chanting and helping us to dive deeper into the transcendental reality. My Guru Maharaj Bhaktivedanta Tripurari Swami often says that to love Krishna is to know him. And we get to know him through revelation, through our sacred texts and through our teachers. So we can study the scriptures and hear from our teachers with the intention to strengthen our chanting. So in this way, we will find building blocks that we can use for building the temple in our hearts. So today, I'm hoping that we could together identify and recognize some of those building blocks or point of views that can encourage our chanting and increase our commitment to our ideal. So I will present today 10 points or like 10 little recommendations that are not directly chanting as such, but which are favorable for our chanting, things that can help us to appreciate the compassion of the name. And the main source for today's talk main source and main inspiration for today's talk has been the book Harinama Chintamani, written by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And there's some influence from other books as well. And again, I'm hoping that at the end of the class, we all together could share some encouraging remarks and experiences about chanting with each other, and in that way encourage each other. A friend of mine once told me that he had chanted Mahamantra for a while, but at the end he felt that it was just the same as repeating any verse or a couple of lines of any text. That short encounter, it was already quite a while ago, but it has stayed in my mind, mostly probably because I felt that I wasn't really able to find the right kinds of words in that situation. But it also raised some thoughts, because I guess in a way you could say that if your goal is to calm your mind, it doesn't really matter what kind of mantra you are using. It is mainly the rhythm of the words and the sound of the mantra that count with that kind of goal. But as followers of Gaudiya tradition, our goal is something very different. We aim to create or to revive a personal relationship with our God. We aim to grow and learn to love unconditionally. So for us, there's a huge difference between lovingly calling the names of our friend, our child, or our lover, or repeating just mindlessly, just any set of words. So when I started preparing these lectures, I thought for a while whether I should include practical tips for concentration or some exercises for improving our chanting. But then I made a choice to focus on these talks on the universality of prayer and chanting. That was the first class. And then Mahamantra as such, what kind of things are included there and hidden inside of the mantra. And then on the third talk, I talked about the call to join the spiritual family and chant under the guidance and protection of our compassionate guardians. And the reason why I chose this kind of approach instead of like going through those more practical kind of tips, it's like I'm thinking that let's say, for example, we are a little bit interested in someone, a new person we have just met. Like we are not in love or anything like that, but not yet at least. But there's something that has caught our interest in that special person, and we would like to get to know him or her or them better. So do we need some special techniques in order to think about that person? I guess most of us will say no. No, we don't need. We might need some mindfulness exercises in order to not to think about that person, so that we can do something else as well. And if we think about ourselves, we are interested in Krishna. There's something in him that has caught our attention. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. So personally, I'm kind of thinking that instead of learning some kind of like mind controlling techniques, why not concentrate on those things that originally have awakened our interest, and kind of through those things to deepen our relationship with the divine, and then connect that feeling somehow with our daily practice. And once again, like usually, I'm preaching mostly for myself, and I'm also asking for your compassion and for your prayers, so that I could find more commitment to my chanting and to my ideal. And to be clearer, I'm not saying that, for example, mindfulness exercises are bad or they should be avoided or anything like that. I personally think that those kind of things can be fruitful for our horizontal growth as human beings, or even for our vertical growth, our spiritual growth. It is something that we need to evaluate very honestly and very truthfully. Like, is this supporting the growth of love in me? Is this increasing my commitment to learning how to really love? Is this helping me to strengthen the sprouting relationship with God? God, is this really making me more connected with the holy names that I'm trying to make the center of my life? Or is it perhaps turning our attention in some other direction, which is not supporting the inner transformation in us? So those are kind of big questions. And also, we don't have to do that kind of reflection alone. Like last time we were talking about the meaning of initiation into chanting. So we can ask these kind of questions from our Guru Maharaj or from our Shiksha Guru, another teacher in our life that we are hearing and learning from. Or perhaps there's someone in our local spiritual community whose role is kind of a pastoral carer, spiritual carer for devotees. So we can discuss these things with them and learn through that confidential interaction. So with this rather lengthy introduction, let's explore some recommendations that can support creating and remembering the strong personal relationship with our God. So the first recommendation is to serve and honor the Vaishnavas, to serve and honor our spiritual teachers, the members of our spiritual family, our neighbors and acquaintances, and finally all the people, all the living entities. We can't really love God without loving every aspect of Him. We can't really love God without loving humanity. I have heard some of my God sisters and God brothers asking our Guru Maharaj, how can I serve you? And the answer has often been along these lines: strengthen your commitment to your ideal, listen carefully, pay attention, take seriously the ideal of growth and inner transformation. Try to listen and try to study the scriptures in the way that is touching your heart and inspiring you to build the temple in your heart. So serving others can mean many kinds of things: feeding them, being there for them, listening to their sorrows, giving a hand when it's needed, saying some words of encouragement, cultivating tolerance. Also sometimes perhaps giving space and taking perhaps some distance in a way that, that we are able to see the good qualities of other people and respect them. There's a story about a man who ran up to meet the wise leader of his community. The young man said, with full of enthusiasm, I have to tell you something about your friend. You have no idea how she's plotting in order to hold up. The leader of the community interrupts him, and she asks him a question about the story that you are about to tell me. Did you put it through the three sieves or filters? The first is the sieve of truth. Are you sure that what you are going to tell me is true? Well, to be honest with you, said the man, no, I just overheard it. What about the sieve of goodness? Will you tell me something good or positive about this person? The young man shook his head. Now, what about the last sieve? Is it necessary to tell me what you are so excited about? The young man started to get the point and didn't say anything. So the wise leader smiled and she said, well, if the story you are about to tell me is neither true, good, or necessary, just forget it and don't bother me with it. So that's a good advice also for us in connection, how to deal with the Vaishnavas and devotees and our spiritual family, and especially like to watch out for our words, what kind of words we are spreading around. Also, if we are able to see each other and ourselves through our ideals, if we are able to see not only the person, how she or he is, but also what she or he can be in the light of our potential, that will strengthen the gratitude in us. And like they say, gratitude is the beginning of love. So we are already on the way. It is interesting how contagious many things are. The more we concentrate on gratitude, the more we will find things that we can be grateful for. Or if we concentrate on all those things that are wrong in the world or in our communities, we will start seeing even more evil things everywhere. Of course, I'm not saying that we should close our eyes or turn our back when we see something that is clearly wrong. In those cases, it can also be an act of love that we interfere, defend someone who is mistreated, or we can actively build a safe environment in our communities by speaking up and showing that we are not okay, for example, with bullying others or discriminating people. So by protecting others, we are making our communities safe for all kinds of people and encouraging their commitment, and at the same time our commitment for growing in the art of loving. The second recommendation is to support our chanting is to remember that everything rests in Krishna, who maintains and protects us all, regardless of who we are. We can enter our chanting with the blessing of Sri Sri Gauranitai, their associates and our teachers, knowing that their blessing is carrying our chanting. And the sacred names are also carrying us forward, protecting and maintaining our growth. So understanding that will foster, once again, gratitude and humility in us. And those feelings will open our hearts even more to receive the divine compassion that gently comes to us in the form of the sacred names. One of the characteristics of Saranagati, surrender, is having faith in God's protection. It is a mindset that allows us to wake up in the morning and enter each day with trust. Whatever will come along the day, I'm not alone. God is there, Krishna is there protecting me. Like he protected the residents of Raj by lifting the Govardhan mountain to shelter them from Indra's anger. Lord Krishna will protect me because he's the friend of the devotees. He's the only shelter for the shelterless. Embracing this kind of mindset and trust will create a safe space also for our chanting, where we can little by little open ourselves to the name and let the name enter our heart. The third recommendation that I would like to pick up today is to respect and cherish the spiritual teacher in all forms that we meet her or him. The question arises, who is a spiritual teacher? Who is our guru? Srila Sridhar Maharaj answers the question. Only one who will exclusively guide me to Krishna and Mahaprabhu with devotion. She or he is my guru, whatever she or he may be. Like Krishna Chaitanya said in Chaitanya Charitamrita, anyone, regardless of caste or social position, may become guru if she or he knows the science of Krishna. So anyone and anything can guide our journey. Sriman Gaurasundara Prabhu was talking in a very beautiful way recently about the third verse of Shikshastakam, how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was seeing that nature was teaching him about tolerance, humility, and other qualities of Vaishnava. And here again we can see whatever we concentrate on will grow. Whatever we focus on will win space. When our gratitude towards our teachers grows, we are more open to their teaching. And the more open we are, the more we will benefit and be able to receive the precious guidance that they are giving. And that actually brings us to our next point, which is to study the sacred wisdom revealed in the scriptures with an open mind and with the attitude. How is this sacred wisdom changing me from within? How are these words softening my heart, increasing my compassion and widening my understanding? So here again, we acknowledge our gratitude for the saints who have tried to express in their writing that what is actually inexpressible, something that you can't actually speak about with our words and our logic. So we can feel gratitude towards all of them and towards God, who has chosen to reveal his thoughts and our goal in the form of the scriptures as a guidance for us. In Christianity, there is a spiritual practice called Lectio Divina. The idea is to read the text, like usually Bible, I guess, or other like spiritual text, then meditate the meaning of the text, then pray, and then finally contemplate whatever is rising out from there. So I think that one of the strengths of this kind of method is that it can bind together studying the theology, listening to the lectures of our teachers, and reading the books. So binding all of them together with our chanting. Like we spoke in the second talk of this series, the names of God included in Mahamantra can have different meanings. So even if the mantra is same for all of us, we might be calling different aspects of divine when we are repeating the holy names. And we also talked about the meaning of the mantra, which Srila Prabhupada connected with the mood to serve. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur saw the growth of faith and growth of love from tender faith to the divine overflowing love hidden inside of each mantra. And then Jiva Goswami connected the mantra very closely to the groves of Vrindavan, where Sri Krishna and Srimati Radharani are stealing each other's hearts. So in these examples, we can see how closely connected studying the scriptures with our intellectual mind and chanting as the practice of the heart are. We can use our intellect to increase our understanding and appreciation towards the holy names of God, and through that get more deeper understanding of our exercise. The next 2 points are connected with appreciating the Mahamantra, appreciating the names of God in all of their glory and intimacy. We are encouraged to embrace and accept the names of God for all that they are, and also to wisely use the strength that holy name is bringing us in the service of Vaishnavas and humanity. There are so many descriptions in our scriptures about the power of the holy name of God. There are so many testimonies about the compassionate nature of the name. The names of God are praised in our scriptures in different ways. They are praised directly, but they are also glorified in a bit more indirect way. Like for example, first the greatness and compassion of God, Sri Sri Gauranitai is praised. And then later comes the conclusion, the holy name of God is even greater and even more compassionate than that. It is written in the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. When Krishna enters the heart through the ear, he captures the lotus of the heart and then gradually makes all the dirt in the heart disappear. Just as when the autumn season comes, all the water everywhere becomes purer, so also when Krishna enters our hearts, all the impurities within will gradually vanish and only Krishna will remain forever. Other quote that I would like to make, it is sung in Namastakam by Rupa Goswami. O perfect and complete holy name of Lord Krishna, you are the embodiment of delightful and intense spiritual bliss. You destroy the many sufferings of those who take shelter of you, and you are a festival of happiness for Gokul. I bow before you again and again. You destroy the many sufferings of those who take shelter of you. So even in the beginning of our path, when we are still kind of trying to find some connection with the name and kind of practicing the art of chanting, the power of the name is already changing us, destroying so many of our sufferings. Often we also grow horizontally, like we become nicer and better human beings after starting to take spiritual practice seriously. And that also might bring us some kind of power or stability of mind in a like everyday kind of sense. And even though we are not really looking for it or reaching out for it with our chanting. So I think it's our responsibility to be aware and wisely use that kind of strength and good qualities that the holy name is bringing us in the service of Vaishnavas and devotees. Of course, being a nice person and being an advanced Vaishnava, they don't always walk hand in hand. Like someone can be a great Vaishnava, a great devotee of the Lord, but perhaps not so nice as a human being. And that's some kind of a great mystery that I can't really explain why and how it goes like that. I guess it has something to do with the personal specific relationship with God. Like perhaps God has given them a very difficult nature in order to protect them and in order to keep them close to Him, so that they don't get distracted so easily for some other things. I don't know, but there needs to be a reason behind. The next point is still connected with the mantra itself. It is to see the value of the name and pass it on to those who are willing to receive it. Often we want to give all kinds of things to people that we like, or even to people we don't like that much. We want to share some good things for them. But you can't give a gift if no one is willing to be at the receiving side. And sometimes it requires patience from our side to accept that even if we would like to share something that is extremely important and beneficial for us, others might not be interested about it. There is a saying that it is no use to wrestle with a pig. I don't know if it's known in all languages, but anyway, there's that kind of saying, and the point of the saying is that you will make the pig angry and yourself dirty. So no one is gaining any benefit from that kind of activity. So in general, it is better to focus on that kind of thing that will bring out something good either in ourselves or at the other end. The other way of seeing this could be that we are encouraged to respect the conviction of others and not try too heavily to convert them. It is told about Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur that he was visiting sometimes some Christian churches and cathedrals, and he was moved. He was deeply moved to see how they were serving and praising God there in a different way. So developing this kind of mindset where we can see God's influence in different in different ways in this world, once again will strengthen our gratitude, and also for the valuable gift we have received. So we can respect others, and it will increase the respect for the special treasure we have in our hands, and soon hopefully at our heart. Another point that I would like to make is to understand the uniqueness of the holy name in relation to other good works or pious activities. There might be many fun and beautiful things in our lives, but at the end, there can be only one goal that we are reaching for. So one core ideal that plays out in different midterm goals and smaller ideals. And when we really understand the uniqueness of the holy name, we can trust that the name will transform us and gently accompany us towards our ideal. The name will reveal our true potential and the potential and power of the name as well. Last but not least, I would like to make a point of having patience with ourselves. Often we might think that we are not really making any progress. I think that kind of a feeling can be considered a gift from God. It is like kind of an invisibility cloak that is protecting us from the false pride. Think about if we were able to see how much we are advancing. It would be easily to be kind of a struggle not to feel too good about ourselves. That would change our focus from our ideal to ourselves, and it would not serve our journey. But anyway, sometimes we might be kind of beating ourselves up about the lack of enthusiasm in our practice. Like how can I be so lazy or so incompetent in my practice after receiving all this knowledge? Why am I doing all the bad things that are not good for me, and not things that I know would actually be supportive and fruitful for my spiritual journey? And well, perhaps sometimes we are lazy or incapable. That might be the case. But most often I'm thinking that the real problem is the lack of real understanding. We might understand something in our mind, but not really with our heart. Because if we would really understand the greatness and compassion of the holy name, we couldn't help but follow the call of the Krishna's flute, the sound of his horn, and the sound of the holy name that is calling us. So again, when we are encountered with those kind of feelings of guilt, we just need to start over, study more with the intention to soften our hearts, like my Guru Maharaj Bhaktivedanta Tripurari Swami says. All progress takes time. So again, we need sincerity and humility and trust that even if we would reject the holy name, the name is not rejecting us. Our God is not rejecting us. He's there waiting and calling us back in the form of their names. We can approach the holy name as the name of our friend, our child, or our beloved. We can say the name like we would be calling them. We can visit the places that increase and support our commitment. We can find Vrindavan, the land of devotion, wherever our spiritual teachers are. We can look for good company and spend time with people who are seeing us in the light of our potential and supporting the growth towards it. So today, we have talked about some things that can be favorable for our chanting. I'm sure that many of you noticed the influence of Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakura's book Harinama Chintamani and especially the section about the 10 offenses against the holy name. One thing that is very typical for the writers and theologians of our tradition is that they tend to look at things from different angles. For example, what is bhakti and what is not bhakti? What is favorable to bhakti and what is not favorable to bhakti? So I'm not a theologian, I'm not a scholar, I'm just a practitioner, a sadhaka on the path. And I'm sometimes struggling a little bit with some of the books of our tradition. The tone of voice is many times quite strict and heavy to my ears, and somehow difficult for me to understand. So I have been thinking about it a little bit like when we are babies and we are learning to walk, when we are taking our very first steps, often everyone is kind of thrilled by it. They are clapping their hands and admiring the every step that we take. And if we fall, there's always someone right there to lift us up and wipe our tears. But then gradually we grow up and start running, and perhaps at some point we wish to attend running competitions or otherwise be really good at running. At that point, our coach is not just stroking our head and telling us how amazing we are. They are pointing out our mistakes and giving us advice on how to improve our exercise and results. And sometimes if an outsider is hearing that, they might think that, wow, that's pretty harsh feedback. They don't know how much love and commitment there is underneath of those words. So, so in a similar way, it has taken me a really long time to realize that many of the books of our tradition were written for a very different audience than, for example, where I'm belonging. For example, the many books were written for the people who already knew quite a bit of the scriptures and were quite learned and informed, or on the other hand, were full-time monastics. So compared to them, I'm just like a child who is taking her first wobbling steps. And if you start coaching a baby to become a world-class runner, well, in some cases, they actually might become one. But then again, they might be severely traumatized. So that's kind of like yeah, that's my personal story, and that's mostly the reason why I'm trying to balance how to speak about the high ideals in a way that our focus would be in the ideal and not so much in the distance that is separating us from the ideal. Also, other point that comes to my mind, a good friend of mine recently pointed out that the world of learning and pedagogy in general has changed quite a bit since the time of Goswami's time, or the time that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was living, or even from the time that Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada was preaching. Like in earlier times, teachers in general used to be quite strict, whereas nowadays there's a lot more emphasis on positive pedagogy, and teachers are seen more as a coach or as a facilitator who is supporting the learning of individual students and different groups. So in this talk, I kind of wanted to take consciously the perspective of what is favorable to chanting. And we can see that many of those things that we went through in this talk are somehow connected with different relationships. Our relationship to the holy name itself, of course, our relationship with our teachers, Vaishnavas, and even humanity at large, or our relationship with the divine knowledge, the words of God that are guiding our journey as the form of our scriptures. So if we keep our focus on this kind of things and make space for them in our lives, it will also support our chanting as well and kind of build the bridge between our intellectual mind and chanting as the prayer of the heart. So anyway, just a few words more. I'm thinking that the idea is that we can kind of polish the gems of Harinam Chintamani and look at them in different kinds of light. Today I have been looking them in this kind of like a positive light, let's say, and then tomorrow we can see them in a bit different kind of light, and the light coming from a bit different angle will always bring out something different, something new, or perhaps something old, but which is still nice to hear at the specific point on our path where we are at. Like for example, how Sriman Guru Nista Prabhu is doing in his talks. He's really like boiling down the deep essence of every offense and pondering in them in an analytical way from different modern perspectives. I have found that approach very inspiring, like all of his talks during this month of March. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur writes in one of his essays that a student should read the facts with the view to create. He writes, students like satellites should reflect whatever light they receive from authors. And I think that's a really beautiful encouragement. Like if you think about the moon, as one kind of a satellite, it is reflecting the light of the sun. So in a similar way, even if there's no light in me, I can still reflect whatever light I'm receiving from my teachers, from the literature, everywhere else. Whatever, even a small ray of light, it can be reflected. And the same encouragement is there for each and every one of us. I would like to finish today with a quote from Srila Sridhar Maharaj. I find that chanting the holy name gives me new encouragement, a new prospect, and new hope. Whatever we want, whatever is our internal demand, it is supplied by the name. If we take the name, all our internal hankerings will be fulfilled. It is eternal. It is the purest of the pure, and it is full of ecstasy. Now I find I have been completely converted. I repeat part of it. I find that chanting the holy name gives me new encouragement, a new prospect, and new hope. Whatever we want, whatever is our internal demand, it is supplied by the name. Such wonderful and encouraging words. And when we are following in his footsteps with humility and sincerity, that is our bright future as well. So I think we can stop here for today. We have some time for a discussion. So I would love to hear your thoughts and experiences about chanting. Like for what kind of things have you found encouraging and favorable for your chanting? And also we can share these very practical tips that are helping in any one of us. They might be helpful for others as well. And if there are any questions or comments related to this talk, I'm happy to hear them. And if you are listening to the English audio, please make sure that you are on the English channel before you start talking so that we all can hear each other.
Hare Krishna, Haripriya, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I just wanted to thank you so much for the series of classes. You've just done a wonderful job of bringing home all of that different aspects of the holy name. And I especially like the emphasis on gratitude for the holy name, for our teachers, for the scriptures, for the process. So thank you. I also wanted to say that for me, for chanting, I've found that the morning time, the morning program has been, is the best for being able to chant in the morning before the day gets started. And all of the life begins and the cars start going and life just, kind of can take over from there. So I know that's part of our process is doing morning program and chanting at that time. And I've tried it many different ways because I've always I've been a school teacher. And so trying to have a spiritual process and do all the other things that we have our commitments to. So chanting in the morning has been the one thing that I found has really helped me. And the other thing I wanted to comment on is that I was initiated into ISKCON, and when we get initiated, we promise to chant 16 rounds. And so for me, that was my commitment. So I was going to do that. But the quality for me was, I was always not happy with that because of the other aspect of the other commitments in my life. And so as I've been listening to Sri Chaitanya Sangha teachers and the lectures, and I noticed that in your initiation, there's not a set number of rounds to chant. If I'm wrong, you can correct me on that. But it was more focused on the quality of the rounds and what you can do. So it helped me to take a step back from that and really focus on the quality of my chanting, really connecting with Krishna. It's like when you get together with your best friend and you want to give them all of your attention so they feel like you're connecting with them. If I'm thinking about, oh, what do I have to do next? And, am I going to be able to get all the things done in the day when I'm chanting and I'm not really connecting with Krishna? So I've stepped back to making sure that I am trying to chant and connecting with Krishna the best that I can, even if I'm not getting all of those 16 rounds done in the morning. So that is just, kind of a realization that I've had through these classes is that I've kind of, it's like, don't want to be chanting for the next more 20 years and not really connecting with Krishna, because I think that can happen sometimes, So anyway, I won't say anymore, but thank you so much again.
Thank you, Krishna Kumari, for your nice words, and thank you for sharing your personal experience. Is there anyone else who would like to share something from your experience, or comment what Krishna Kumari was sharing with us? I can, or hey, Guru Nesta.
Sorry, I'm a little late here. Haribol. Let's see, let me check quickly. I'm on the English side here. Yeah. So I want to mention that that's a really nice thing that you are doing there with the Harinam Chintamani and the 10 offenses, that you turned it from what not to do to what's actually favorable. And also the stuff you were saying about like the more like modern idea of learning and teaching and stuff, it does seem to be for Westerners like a lot more conducive to like focus on the positive side and stuff. Not that it should become this like constant backpatting or something, but I think it's really good to realize like it can be disturbing. Some of the scriptures are really heavy because that was just the system back then. Just like you said, I'm just kind of reiterating what you said, but I was just appreciating those points and how thinking about always like the essence of like, why are we, like whatever actually inspires us the most is like the best thing. So I guess that's all I want to say. And thanks so much for these classes. They've been fantastic, and hope we'll hear from you soon again. Haribol.
Haribol, thank you, Gurunista, for your nice words. I would actually like to comment a little bit what Krishna Kumari was speaking before, like about the rounds and things like that. And of course, the relationship between a student and a teacher, it's always like a unique, and there might be some like things that teachers are recommending for one student and not for the other. It's all about like where we are at our personal journey, and like what is most beneficial for our spiritual practice right at that point. So I can't really make that much statements about like it's always like that or something like that, but I can tell from my own experience that when I received initiation from my Guru Maharaj to chant, and received his blessings to chant Hare Krishna mantra under his protection and guidance, it was like we talked about some things that were going on in my life, and he kind of asked me or kind of challenged in a nice way to think about like what would be a realistic like spiritual practice for me, like in a sense of chanting the rounds, like how many rounds do I think that I'm able to make, like with a commitment, so that I'm able to make my practice daily and it's not getting too hard for me, or it's not like I'm just doing it and like in my mind traveling somewhere else, and kind of like he let me to make a suggestion, like what I think would be the good amount of rounds to chant daily, and then we kind of agreed that all right, that will be my practice. And of course the point is not that I will until the end of the days keep to that like specific number of rounds, but little by little, if I'm able to make more space at my life for chanting, then I can always increase it and kind of like make new commitments and grow, and so that's kind of the challenge or the encouragement for me to think about every now and then. And also, like last time we spoke about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who in his times in Gaudiya Math, they also had this idea, like there was no like fixed number of rounds for anyone, but it was always kind of like adjusted according the person and according the circumstances. Like some were chanting 4 rounds daily, some were chanting perhaps 64 rounds daily. So it's like what is your situation, what is helping you to grow, and the holy name is helping us with that and walking the path with us.
Yes, thank you, Haripriya. I just wanted to add on to what you're saying about that, how I just felt like that was such a personal approach to the individual practitioner, to decide with their guru what would work for them, and that, the goal being to add more rounds as you could do that. So yes, thank you so much.
Oh All right. I think we can slowly stop for today. So thank you so much for your presence today. Thank you for all the comments and the small discussion that we were able to make. And thank you for the Spanish translation, Srimati Ananga Manjari Devi. So the series of talks, Chanting as the Prayer of the Heart, will end here. But our chanting and our expedition of chanting doesn't end. So I feel grateful and blessed that I was able to share part of the journey with you. I got a lot of inspiration from your presence, especially from all of you here at Zoom. So if there was a little bit of something in these talks that gave you encouragement and inspiration in your personal spiritual journey, please consider it as a blessing from my spiritual teachers. And please don't blame them for my shortcomings and mistakes. For those, I'm responsible myself. There are many great lectures coming up in April. At the same time, on Mondays, Sriman Chitta Hariprabhu will continue with the topic Krishna Sandarbha. And another pick from the next month's program, on Wednesdays, Srimati Sadhvi Devi will be talking about the role of the Vaishnavi saints in the history of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And there are many other interesting topics as well coming up. So I'm looking forward to hearing those talks, and I hope to see you all there. I offer my gratitude and my wish to connect more closely to my ideal at the feet of my spiritual teachers and at the feet of Vaishnavas who are like wish-fulfilling trees, full of kindness and compassion for all living beings. Sri Gaudiya Vaishnava Guru Parampara ki jai, Gaura Nityananda ki jai, Harinama Mahamantra ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Srimati Haripriya Devi ki jai.
Jai.
Sadhu Sangha ki jai, Hari Bol.